The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with an anxiety not seen in over 3 millennia. Representatives from over 200 species filled the massive crystalline dome, their various appendages, tentacles, and electromagnetic fields twitching with barely contained terror. The usual protocols of addressing the High Council had completely broken down as dozens of species demanded to speak simultaneously. "Order! I demand order!" High Councillor Zixatal's crystalline form pulsed with waves of deep purple light, a sign of extreme agitation among the luminari. His voice, translated through the chamber's advanced systems, carried both authority and a hint of fear. "We will address this situation with the dignity befitting the Galactic Confederation." "Dignity," Ambassador Create of the Mechanoid Collective clicked and whirred, in what could only be described as mechanical sarcasm. "While we debate protocols, those humans are out there doing who knows what. Did you see what they did to the Harvester fleet?" A collective shudder passed through the chamber. The Harvesters had been considered one of the most formidable forces in the galaxy, had been. Past tense now, thanks to humanity. "The Harvesters violated the non-aggression protocols," pointed out Representative Bloom of the Chlorophyllians, their leaf-like appendages swaying gently. "They attempted to harvest Earth's oceans without proper—" "And look what happened to them!" thundered Ambassador Grax of the Silicon Hive, their crystalline structure vibrating with emotion. 17,000 ships! 17,000! Reduced to space debris by a species that only achieved FTL travel 3 cycles ago. The chamber erupted into chaos again. A holographic display in the center of the room showed the aftermath of the battle, if it could even be called that. The Harvester fleet had been equipped with the finest shields and weapons in known space. The humans had simply ignored them. Their ships had phased right through the shields using some previously unknown technology, attached themselves to the Harvester vessels and, well, no one quite understood what happened next, but the Harvester ships had begun to fold in on themselves like paper sculptures being crushed by an invisible hand. "What disturbs me most," came the ethereal voice of Oracle Mindteth, the gaseous being floating near the Council's peak, "is not their technological capabilities, but their psychological makeup. Do you know what they call their primary military doctrine? Mad, mutually assured destruction. They developed nuclear weapons, and their solution to preventing their use was to build enough to destroy their entire planet several times over. Their entire history is filled with such insanity," added Ambassador Create. "They created something called the Internet, filled it with both the sum of their knowledge and pictures of small, furry animals wearing clothes. They developed spaceflight partially because they were trying to prove superiority over another faction of their own species. They watch entertainment about their own extinction for pleasure." High Councillor Zixatal's crystalline form dimmed slightly, a sign of deep contemplation. "Perhaps we should consider that our traditional methods of evaluating species advancement were insufficient. We judged them by their official technological achievements, their visible military capabilities. We never thought to look at their entertainment media, their fiction as they call it." "What do you mean?" asked Bloom, curiosity overriding fear for a moment. "They've been imagining and preparing for contact with hostile alien species for centuries," Zixatal continued. "Every possible scenario we could represent, they've already envisioned and developed countermeasures for. Not because they knew we existed, but because they couldn't stop themselves from imagining what if. They turned their paranoid fantasies into preparation." A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. They weren't dealing with just another emerging spacefaring species. They were dealing with something entirely new, a species that had spent its entire development simultaneously hoping for and preparing for the worst. "So," Ambassador Grax finally spoke, their crystalline voice uncharacteristically quiet, "what do we do now?" Before anyone could respond, the chamber's alert system activated. A new human vessel had just appeared in the system, requesting permission to dock with the station. The day humans became the most feared species in the galaxy had officially begun. The events that led to this crisis had begun, as many catastrophes do, with the best of intentions. The Galactic Confederation's First Contact Division had followed all standard protocols when approaching Earth. At least, that's what the official reports claimed. Reality, as usual, had other plans. Ambassador Enix Klaxix of the Synaptic Collective was chosen to lead the diplomatic mission, primarily because their species' neural network consciousness was considered the most adaptable to new forms of communication. In retrospect, sending a being that looked like a swarm of glowing floating jellyfish might not have been the best choice for meeting a species known for their monster movies. "We came in peace," Nix Klaxix's voice wavered as they addressed the council, their tentacles flickering with remembered embarrassment. "Our research suggested that appearing over their largest population centers would demonstrate our peaceful intentions by making ourselves vulnerable." A mechanical groan emanated from Ambassador Cree 8. "You appeared simultaneously over every major Earth city at midnight. Their entertainment media specifically identified that as a precursor to hostile invasion. How are we to know they would take their fictional scenarios so seriously?" Nix Klaxix protested. "Besides, that wasn't what caused the real problem." The real problem, as the gathered representatives knew all too well, came during the actual diplomatic exchange. The human representatives had been surprisingly composed about the whole first contact situation. Their military response had been measured, their diplomatic corps professional, and their media coverage almost reasonable. Everything was proceeding according to galactic protocols until Ambassador Nx Klaxix presented the customary gift, a terraforming package. It was meant to be helpful. Nx Klaxix's tentacles twisted in agitation. The package would have optimized their planet's atmosphere, adjusted their ocean chemistry to universal standard, and modified their biosphere for maximum efficiency. "You told them you were going to improve their planet," Representative Bloom pointed out, their leaves rustling in what might have been amusement. "Did you miss the part in their historical records about how fiercely they protect their environment? But their own records showed they were damaging their ecosystem. We thought they would welcome the help." The human response had been dramatic. Within minutes of the terraforming package being explained, every human military installation went to maximum alert. Their internet exploded with references to something called Independence Day and War of the Worlds. Their diplomatic tone shifted from professional courtesy to barely contained rage. Then came the speech. The human diplomatic representative standing before the United Nations had delivered what would become known throughout the galaxy as the Terraform This speech. The footage played now in the council chamber, causing several representatives to recoil. "We, humanity, acknowledge your technological superiority and welcome peaceful exchange with the galactic community," the human diplomat spoke with eerie calmness. "However, let us be perfectly clear. Earth is our home. Its forests, its oceans, its deserts, even its pollution are ours. We will deal with our environmental challenges in our own way, in our own time. Any attempt to modify our planet's ecosystem without our explicit consent will be considered an act of war. And if you're wondering what war with humanity looks like..." The speech was interrupted by a demonstration. A small human vessel, hardly larger than a shuttle, approached one of the Confederation's diplomatic ships. Before anyone could react, the human ship activated some kind of device. The diplomatic vessel, a ship larger than any human structure, simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just gone. "They had developed void point technology," Oracle Mindteth whispered. "A species that hadn't even achieved stable FTL had independently developed technology to send matter into non-space." "That's not the worst part," High Counselor Zixatal added grimly. "Our analysis suggests they developed it by accident while trying to create something called a garbage disposal system for their space stations. They weaponized a waste management solution." The council chamber fell silent again. The implications were staggering. A species that could casually weaponize their mistakes was not one to be underestimated. "The human vessel approaching the station," Ambassador Grax spoke up, their crystalline form vibrating with concern. "What do they want?" High Counselor Zixatal's response was interrupted by a direct communication from the human ship. The message was simple, yet it sent chills through every being in the chamber. "We're here to discuss terms, and this time we're bringing our own ideas about improving the galaxy." The Galactic Council's surveillance feeds showed what happened next on Earth, and it was unlike anything they had ever witnessed. Within hours of the terraforming incident, Earth's usually fractious nations had achieved something unprecedented: total global unity, not through treaties, not through negotiations, but through a collective understanding that some threats transcended all earthly divisions. The humans called an emergency session of their United Nations. The recording played now in the council chamber, causing several representatives to alter their chromatic patterns in distress. For centuries, the UN Secretary-General addressed the Assembly, "We have fought amongst ourselves. We have divided our planet into arbitrary territories, waged wars over resources, ideology, and sometimes just out of habit. Today we face a threat that makes all of these conflicts seem as childish as they truly are. Today we implement the Geneva Suggestion." The term caused confusion among the alien observers until Oracle Mindteth provided context. They have something called the Geneva Convention, rules of warfare they created to maintain some semblance of civilization during their conflicts. The fact that they're calling this the Geneva Suggestion implies they're taking off the gloves, Ambassador Create finished, their mechanical voice carrying an unusual note of respect. The Geneva Suggestion, as it turned out, was less a formal document and more a collective agreement to unleash everything humanity had been holding back. Military bases that officially didn't exist suddenly sprang to life. Research facilities that no government acknowledged began activating projects that defied conventional physics. "Look at these energy readings," Ambassador Grax's crystalline form flickered rapidly as they analyzed the data. "They're drawing power from... That can't be right. They're harvesting energy from parallel dimensions." "Correct," High Counselor Zixatal confirmed. "They developed the technology while trying to create something called unlimited clean energy for their civilian population. They kept it hidden because they were concerned about its weapon potential." The Council watched in growing alarm as humanity's true capabilities were revealed. The Chinese government unveiled a fleet of ships that could manipulate gravitational fields developed from their public space program but kept secret for competitive reasons. The European Union activated a network of satellites that could redirect solar flares, originally designed as a planetary defense system against natural disasters. But it was the revelation from the Americans that truly terrified the Council. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, in a facility that officially didn't exist, they had been maintaining something they called Project Pandora's Box. They didn't, Oracle Mindteth gasped as the data streamed in. They found a way to weaponize quantum uncertainty itself. "Not exactly," Ambassador Create corrected, their mechanical voice somehow conveying awe. "They found a way to manipulate probability. They can't change what's possible, but they can change what's likely. They developed it while trying to improve their weather forecasting." The human military mobilization was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Ships that had been disguised as space debris revealed themselves. Orbital platforms that appeared to be communication satellites transformed into weapon systems. Even their civilian infrastructure showed military applications. Their internet, it turned out, could be used to generate electromagnetic pulses capable of disrupting alien technology. But perhaps most disturbing was their psychological warfare. They began broadcasting their entertainment media, their war movies, their science fiction, their horror stories, on all frequencies. To a galaxy that had never developed fiction as a concept, the human ability to imagine and prepare for countless scenarios was terrifying. "They're not just broadcasting their capabilities," Representative Bloom observed, leaves trembling. "They're showing us everything they've ever imagined doing, every scenario they've ever planned for, every nightmare they've ever had about alien contact." The Council watched as humanity's various space forces unified under a single banner. Their ships, a hodgepodge of different designs and technologies, should have been incompatible. Instead, they worked together with terrifying efficiency. Russian quantum computers synchronized with Indian probability drives. Brazilian atmospheric manipulators enhanced Japanese plasma weapons. Then came the diplomatic message. A single human representative, speaking from what appeared to be an ordinary office, delivered humanity's response to the galactic community. "We appreciate the Galactic Confederation's apology regarding the terraforming incident. However, this event has made it clear that our species operate under different assumptions. You see technology as a means of achieving uniformity. We see it as a tool for preserving diversity. You seek to standardize the galaxy. We prefer it wild and unpredictable." The representative smiled, and somehow that was the most terrifying part. "We have held back many of our advancements out of concern for their potential for devastation. We have hidden our true capabilities out of habit. Our nation spent so long concealing things from each other that secrecy became second nature. But now we're ready to share. The message ended with what the humans called a demonstration. A small probe, no larger than a human automobile, appeared near one of Jupiter's moons. It activated a device that the Council's sensors couldn't even detect properly. The moon, a celestial body thousands of kilometers in diameter, simply phased out of normal space for exactly 10 seconds before returning. That, the human representative's voice continued, was our smallest test device developed by a graduate student for their thesis project. We have bigger ones, much bigger ones. Now, shall we discuss how to move forward as equals? In the council chamber, High Councillor Zixatal's crystalline form had dimmed to almost complete darkness, a sign of deep dread among the luminari. They're not just powerful, they whispered. They're innovative in ways we never imagined possible, and worst of all, they're enjoying this. The Battle of Alpha Centauri wasn't supposed to happen. The Harvester remnant fleet, acting against direct orders from both the Confederation and their own leadership, had decided to take revenge for their earlier defeat. They assembled the largest armada ever seen in the galaxy's history, over 50,000 ships gathered from forgotten outposts and hidden bases. The humans had less than 1,000 vessels defending their colony, Ambassador Grax recounted, their crystalline structure pulsing with remembered shock. We thought we were about to witness a massacre. The council chamber's holographic display showed the battle in all its terrifying glory. The Harvester fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect attack formation, their ships arranged in the time-tested spiral of destruction pattern that had conquered 1,000 worlds. The human response was puzzling. They were laughing, Oracle Mindteth observed, their gaseous forms swirling in confusion. Our monitors picked up their communications. They were actually laughing. The human ships, rather than forming any recognizable defense pattern, appeared to be moving randomly. Some were playing what humans called music on all frequencies, something called Flight of the Valkyries and Welcome to the Jungle. We thought they'd lost their minds, Ambassador Create's mechanical voice carried a hint of static. Then we learned about something they call trolling. The first wave of Harvester ships launched their attack, expecting to overwhelm the human vessels through sheer numbers. Instead, their weapons passed harmlessly through holographic projections, while the real human ships appeared behind them. But that wasn't what made the battle legendary. They weaponized uncertainty, High Councillor Zixatal explained, their crystalline form flickering with a mix of horror and admiration. Those probability drives they developed, they didn't use them to affect their own ships, they used them to affect the space around the Harvester fleet. The results were beyond devastating. Harvester ships found themselves experiencing what humans called Murphy's Law. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Navigation systems calculated their position in interpretive dance. Weapon systems decided to hold philosophical debates about the nature of violence. Communication arrays began broadcasting human cat videos. But the humans weren't done. A single human ship designated Hold My Beer in their registry activated what they called the Einstein-Rosen party trick. The laws of physics around the Harvester Fleet Center section began operating on purely theoretical principles. Ships found themselves experiencing time at different rates, some aging millions of years in seconds, while others reversed temporal direction entirely. The worst part, Representative Bloom added, their leaves curling in distress, was that the humans clearly weren't even trying to destroy the fleet. They were experimenting. Indeed, different human ships appeared to be testing different theoretical weapons. One section of the Harvester fleet found itself trapped in a recursive space-time loop, forced to experience the same 11 seconds of confusion eternally. Another section was transformed into a mathematical equation, existing simultaneously as both matter and pure numerical theory. They turned one of our dreadnoughts into a probability cloud, Ambassador Grax whispered. It now simultaneously exists and doesn't exist, and the crew experiences every possible reality at once. They're still receiving distress calls from it in dimensions we didn't even know existed. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes and 42 seconds. When it was over, the Harvester remnant fleet wasn't destroyed. That would have been merciful. Instead, it had become a floating museum of theoretical physics gone wrong. a testament to what happens when human creativity is unleashed without restraint. The human commander's message to the surviving harvesters was broadcast across all known frequencies and several previously unknown ones. That was fun. We got to test so many of our students' thesis projects. Anyone else want to help us with our research and development? The harvester species formally announced their complete retirement from military operations exactly 1 hour later. But here's what truly terrifies me. High Counselor Zixatal addressed the council, their glow dimmed to a worried flicker. According to our analysis, the humans were still holding back. Those ships? They were primarily their scientific research vessels. Their actual military ships never even showed up. The council chamber fell into stunned silence as the implications sank in. They had just watched a fleet of human science ships, commanded by their researchers and academics, casually rewrite the laws of physics while treating a battle as a peer-review process. There's something else, Oracle Mindteth added, their gaseous form condensing with concern. During the battle, we detected numerous transmissions from Earth. Their civilian population was watching the battle in real time, treating it as entertainment. They were making suggestions in something called Twitch chat about what experiments to try next. The silence in the chamber grew heavier. A species that treated reality-bending combat as a form of public entertainment and crowdsourced warfare tactics from their civilian population was not one to be underestimated. The Galactic Confederation's Department of Xenopsychology had always prided itself on its ability to understand and categorize new species. Their comprehensive reports helped guide diplomatic relations and prevent cultural misunderstandings, but their latest report on humanity had caused the entire department to request stress leave. "We need to understand what we're dealing with," Ambassador Create addressed the council, their mechanical voice modulated to project calm. The xenopsychology report identifies several concerning traits. The holographic display showed various human activities that had been monitored. Humans running ultra-marathons until they literally collapsed. Humans diving into frozen lakes for fun. Humans eating substances that cause them pain because they like the flavor. They have something called spite, Oracle Mindteth explained, their gaseous form rippling with unease. It's like determination, but fueled by pure defiance. They will literally harm themselves just to prove someone else wrong. The council watched footage of human emergency responders running into burning buildings, of human scientists exposing themselves to dangerous conditions for research, of human explorers venturing into the most hostile environments simply because they were there. Their adaptability is unprecedented, Representative Bloom noted, leaves trembling. Not biological adaptation, psychological adaptation. They can normalize almost anything. We've monitored their entertainment networks. They turned our first contact into memes within hours. High Counselor Zixatal's crystalline form pulsed with concerned frequencies. They have this concept called challenge accepted. When told something is impossible, they take it as a personal offense. Our attempts to standardize their planet's ecosystem weren't just seen as a threat. They saw it as a challenge to prove they could fix their environment their own way. The psychological analysis continued, revealing more disturbing traits. Humans used humor as a coping mechanism for literally everything, including existential threats. They formed emotional attachments to inanimate objects. They anthropomorphized everything from their vehicles to their weapon systems. They named their ships, Ambassador Grax reported, their crystalline structure vibrating with disbelief. The vessel that turned our dreadnought into a quantum uncertainty, they called it Schrodinger's backup plan. The one that created the time loop, Groundhog Day Redux. They treat reality-altering weapons like pets. But perhaps most terrifying was humanity's capacity for what they called improvisation. The report showed countless instances of humans solving complex problems with completely unrelated tools, creating solutions that worked for reasons that defied conventional logic. They built their first probability drive using parts from something called a microwave oven and a game console, Ambassador Create stated. When asked how they knew it would work, the inventor said, and I quote, "I didn't, but it seemed worth a try." The council chamber's atmosphere grew heavy with collective dread as the implications became clear. They weren't dealing with just another spacefaring species. They were facing a civilization of beings who combined determination with defiance, creativity with chaos, and technological prowess with a complete disregard for conventional limitations. The most dangerous aspect, Oracle Mindteth concluded, their form now a troubled whirl, is their ability to unite in the face of external threats while maintaining their internal diversity. Every other species we've encountered either achieved unity through uniformity or remained divided. Humans somehow managed to become stronger because of their differences. High Counselor Zixatal's glow dimmed to a serious hue. They have a saying, "Hold my beer." Our linguistics experts initially thought it was a request for beverage storage. Now we understand it's a warning. It means they're about to attempt something that any rational being would consider impossible, dangerous, or both, and they're going to treat it like entertainment. The council chamber fell silent once again, each representative contemplating the implications of a species that treated the impossible as a challenge, danger as entertainment, and physics as a set of guidelines rather than laws. The breaking point came not with a bang, but with a notification ping. While the Council debated humanity's psychological profile, their quantum detection grid registered something impossible. Every human military installation, research facility, and civilian center simultaneously entered a state of quantum superposition. "They're everywhere and nowhere," Ambassador Cree 8's mechanical voice crackled with alarm. "They've somehow quantum-linked their entire civilization. We can't target what we can't locate." The Council's sensors showed the impossible readings. Every human settlement existed in multiple states simultaneously. Any attempt to determine their actual location caused the probability field to shift. They had turned their entire species into a living application of quantum uncertainty. "This is just the beginning," High Counselor Zixatal's crystalline form pulsed with dread. "We're receiving surrenders, not from military forces, but from entire species." The swarm consciousness of the Rigel sector, renowned for their military might, transmitted a simple message. "We acknowledge human superiority. Please, don't get creative with us." They were quickly followed by the Silicon Dynasties, the Plasma Collective, and a dozen other major powers. But it was the revelation of humanity's contingency plans that truly broke the galaxy's will to resist. A human diplomatic vessel, appropriately named Full Disclosure, transmitted data packets to every major power simultaneously. The files were labeled "Things We Decided Not to Do Yet." By all that's sacred, Oracle Mindteth's gaseous form swirled in patterns of pure horror. They developed a way to weaponize dark matter by accident, while trying to create more efficient spacecraft engines. They just decided not to use it because it seemed excessive. The contingency plans revealed humanity's true capabilities. They had discovered how to initiate controlled vacuum decay, but shelved it because it was too messy. They had developed technology to transfer consciousness between dimensions, but decided it would make paperwork too complicated. They had even figured out how to reverse entropy, but weren't using it because they were still debating the ethical implications. "Look at this one," Ambassador Grax's crystalline structure vibrated with disbelief. Project Paperclip 2.0. They found a way to turn any star into a quantum computer. They're not using it because they're concerned about digital rights management across multiple dimensions. Then came the ultimate demonstration. A human representative speaking from what appeared to be a coffee shop made their final point. "We understand that some members of the galactic community are still uncertain about accepting us as equals, so we thought we'd share a little party trick. Please observe Alpha Centauri." The entire council watched as humanity's quantum superposition field expanded to encompass their nearest stellar neighbor. Alpha Centauri flickered and then bifurcated. There were now two Alpha Centauri systems, occupying the same space but vibrating at different frequencies. "We call it stellar duplication," the human representative explained casually, while sipping something called a caramel macchiato. "Turns out you can copy and paste stellar bodies if you understand quantum mechanics well enough. We discovered it while trying to solve our renewable energy problems. Neat, right?" The silence in the council chamber was absolute. They had just witnessed a species casually violate the most fundamental laws of physics, while treating it as a minor technological demonstration. Oh, and just to be clear, the human continued, we can do this with galaxies too. We just don't want to because it would make our astronomical maps really confusing. Now, about those trade agreements we were discussing. The surrender of the remaining holdout species was immediate and unconditional. The harvester remnant formally requested to be transformed into a peaceful agricultural society. The drone collective asked permission to study human entertainment media to better understand creativity. Even the notoriously prideful Empire of 1,000 Suns sent a message consisting of a single word: Uncle. High Counselor Zixatal, their crystalline form now barely glowing, addressed the council. I believe we should revise our protocol for classifying advanced civilizations. Clearly, our previous metrics were insufficient. We never thought to ask, can they duplicate stars while drinking coffee? The human representative's response came through on all frequencies. Don't worry too much about classification systems. We have some ideas about improving galactic bureaucracy too. Has anyone told you about our concept of digital automation yet? The collective shudder that ran through the council suggested that the galaxy's transformation was only beginning. 2 standard cycles had passed since the human demonstration of stellar duplication. The Galactic Council Chamber, once a place of rigid protocols and formal procedures, had undergone some very human modifications. Holographic displays showed real-time updates from across the galaxy. Representatives could vote using something called emoji reactions, and there was now a dedicated corner for what humans called a coffee bar. The peace terms are unusual. High Counselor Zixatal addressed the assembled representatives, their crystalline form glowing with a mix of confusion and amusement. The humans don't want territory. They don't want resources. They don't even want technological submissions. They want us to chill out and have fun, Ambassador Create quoted from the official document, their mechanical voice struggling to process the concept. They've requested we establish an intergalactic entertainment network, cultural exchange programs, and something called food festivals. The changes in galactic politics had been dramatic, yet somehow refreshingly positive. The humans had introduced concepts that had never occurred to other species: competitive sports between different civilizations, collaborative research projects, intergalactic talent shows. They called it team building on a cosmic scale. Their solution to the harvester crisis was particularly innovative. Representative Bloom noted, their leaves swaying in what had become recognized as laughter. Teaching them to harvest solar energy through specialized Dyson spheres and selling it as artisanal sustainable power to other civilizations. They're making more profit than they ever did through conquest. Oracle Mind. Teth's gaseous form swirled in contemplative patterns. But the most remarkable change has been in how we approach problems. The humans introduced this concept they call brainstorming. No idea is too ridiculous to consider. They've got the Silicon Dynasties and the Plasma Collective collaborating on something called fusion cuisine. Yet it was the final revelation about humanity's true nature that had transformed fear into fascination. The human representative, still speaking from various coffee shops, finally explained it during what they called a casual Friday session. Look, they said, sipping something called a double espresso. All those terrifying weapons and reality-bending technologies, we developed most of them by accident while trying to solve mundane problems or simply satisfy our curiosity. We're not conquerors, we're not warriors, we're basically a species of easily distracted problem solvers with too much creativity for our own good. The council had watched in amazement as humans proceeded to prove this point. They approached ancient galactic problems with solutions so bizarre they actually worked. They solved a millennium-old territorial dispute by introducing the concept of timeshare to planetary ownership. They fixed the quantum collapse crisis by applying principles from their social media algorithms. They've turned the galaxy into some sort of innovation playground, Ambassador Grax observed, their crystalline structure shimmering with newfound enthusiasm. Every species is contributing their unique perspectives to solve problems. It's chaos, but somehow it works. The most recent human proposal was to establish what they called a galactic makerspace, a massive station where representatives from all species could collaborate on projects, share ideas, and occasionally blow things up in controlled experiments. High Counselor Zixatal's glow had brightened considerably over the cycles. We feared them because we didn't understand them. They weren't building weapons of mass destruction. They were essentially cosmic tinkerers who accidentally created universe-altering technologies while trying to make their daily lives more interesting. The final piece of the humans' galactic reorganization plan was perhaps the most characteristically human of all. They proposed regular, galaxy-wide celebrations, where all species would share their achievements, cultures, and what they called cool stuff we made. You know what the really scary part is, Oracle Mind Teth mused to the Council. They're actually making the galaxy a better place by encouraging everyone to be as chaotically creative as they are. And so, the day humans became the most feared species in the galaxy turned into something entirely unexpected. The day the galaxy learned to embrace chaos, creativity, and the occasional coffee break.